"You have seen their smoke, Longhair, but you do not see their spears," warned Big Belly, his voice sharp as he faced General Custer on a windswept Montana ridge in June 1876. Clad in a buffalo hide vest, gripping a carved staff in his left hand, the Crow Scout stood firm beside Red Star, a young Arikara whose keen eyes had just spotted a Sioux camp of over 8,000 people, including 2,000 warriors, as noted by historian John Gray. This discovery, on the eve of the Battle of Little Bighorn, where 268 of Custer's 7th Cavalry would fall, revealed a truth the native scouts knew but Custer doubted. Why did Red Star and his companions foresee disaster in a camp of 1,500 teepees, and how did their wisdom go unheeded? In June 1876, the 7th Cavalry set up camp along the Rosebud River in Montana, their tents sprawling across a grassy plain under a sky streaked with crimson. Over 600 soldiers, led by General George Armstrong Custer, sharpened sabers, cleaned rifles, and checked ammunition, their movements brisk as they prepared for a campaign against the Sioux and Cheyenne. The camp hummed with 200 campfires, their smoke curling into the evening air, mingling with the scent of roasted venison and bitter coffee. Historian Nathaniel Philbrick notes that Custer's force, totaling 647 men, was part of a larger U.S. Army effort to force native tribes onto reservations, a mission rooted in the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie's broken promises. The soldiers' chatter carried a nervous edge, aware that the Sioux, led by Sitting Bull, had gathered in unprecedented numbers. By the river's edge, Arikara and Crow Scouts gathered around a small fire, their faces lit by flickering flames. Red Star, a young Arikara in a beaded buckskin shirt, cradled a tin cup of scalding coffee in his calloused hands. Black Fox, quick with a jest, tossed a light-hearted barb to ease the tension, while Red Foolish Bear's deep laughter echoed softly. Strikes the Lodge, steady and precise, cleaned his knife with a whetstone, and Strikes the Bear scanned the darkness, his rifle resting across his knees. Bull, broad-shouldered, brushed his pony's mane with care, his gentleness a contrast to the looming task. Crooked Horn, their leader, sat at the head, his weathered face and piercing eyes reflecting 40 years of survival, as documented by Arikara oral histories recorded by historian Orrin Libby. A soldier's boots crunched on the gravel, his brass buttons glinting as he approached the scout's fire. He summoned Crooked Horn to Custer's quarters, a canvas tent glowing with lantern light. The scouts fell silent, their eyes following their leader as he rose, his elk-hide cloak swaying. Red Star felt a knot in his chest, sensing the weight of the moment. Such a summons meant a mission of grave consequence, one that could shift the fate of their people, who numbered fewer than 1,000 Arikara and 2,000 Crow in 1876, according to ethnographer Lewis Henry Morgan. The fire crackled as the scouts waited, their shared meal of hardtack and dried meat now forgotten. Inside Custer's tent, General George Armstrong Custer, known as Longhair to the Arikara, stood in a blue wool uniform, his golden hair catching the lantern's glow. Beside him, interpreter Frederick Gerard, a grizzled man with a sun-worn face, translated Custer's sharp commands. Custer ordered the scouts to find the Sioux camp before dawn, a task critical to his plan to surprise the enemy. The Crow Scouts, including Big Belly and Encamps leading, were to guide due to their knowledge of the Montana terrain, gained from decades of hunting and warfare. Charlie Reynolds, a frontiersman dubbed Lucky Man, stood ready with his saddled horse, his reputation for surviving 20 skirmishes noted by historian Evan Connell. The scouts, 12-inch total, nodded in unison, their mission clear. Under a sky studded with stars, the 12 scouts mounted their ponies, the creak of leather and jingle of bridles blending with the Rosebud's murmur. Red Star, on his bay pony, rode near the front, his rifle slung across his back. The Crow Scouts led, their movements fluid, as if the land itself guided them through rocky outcrops and sagebrush. The group covered 10 miles in darkness, their path fraught with danger, as a single misstep could alert Sioux scouts, estimated at 200 by historian Thomas Powers. Red Star's heart raced at every rustle, knowing the Sioux's prowess and stealth, as recounted in Crow oral traditions. In a small clearing, the scouts dismounted, their ponies' breaths steaming in the cool air. They formed a circle, passing a red pipestone pipe, its smoke curling upward in a ritual of unity. Encamps leading, a Crow Scout with a scar along his jaw, used hand signs to outline their plan, as recorded by historian Joseph Medicine Crow. By dawn, they would reach a high ridge, 1,500 feet above the valley, offering a view of 50 miles. The pipe's smoke bound them to their ancestors, a solemn act as they faced a Sioux force that historian D. Brown estimates at 8,000, including women and children. As dawn's first light paled the sky, the scouts climbed a steep ridge, leading their ponies over loose shale. Red Star's muscles ached, his boots slipping on the rocky incline. The air carried a faint, acrid scent, not from their fire but from a distant source, hinting at the Sioux's presence. The Crow Scouts, navigating with ease, led them to a summit where stunted pines clung to the earth. Historian Stephen Ambrose notes that such ridges were sacred to the Crow, used for vision quests, making their choice strategic and spiritual. From the ridge's peak, Crow Scouts Strike's enemy and Curlyhead, both in fringed buckskin, scanned the valley. Strike's enemy, holding a short bow in his left hand, spotted smoke rising from 1,500 teepees, a sign of the Sioux camp's size, as per John Gray's research. Curlyhead signaled with a soft hoot, mimicking a Sioux call to avoid detection. The sound sent a chill through Red Star, who gripped his rifle tighter, aware that the Sioux's 2,000 warriors could overwhelm Custer's 647 men, as analyzed by historian Robert Utley. Red Star, urged by Crooked Horn, climbed higher, his eyes piercing the morning mist. He saw teepees clustered beyond a ridge, their buffalo hides taut, and 500 horses grazing in the distance. The sight confirmed the camp's vastness, a bustling village unaware of the approaching cavalry. The scouts' discovery, made after a 15-mile night ride, was a triumph of their skill, as praised in Arikara accounts collected by Orrin Libby. The group's tension was palpable, their silence a testament to the stakes. Charlie Reynolds, in a worn leather coat, raised his field glasses, studying the camp for 10 minutes before nodding. He scribbled a note on a creased page, his calm demeanor steadying the group. Historian Evan Connell describes Reynolds as a man of few words, whose 20 years on the frontier made his judgment trusted. The note, detailing the camp's location 12 miles away, was a critical link to Custer, carrying the weight of the coming battle. Red Star and Bull rode back to the 7th Cavalry Camp, covering 12 miles in under 2 hours. Red Star, in his beaded jacket, rode in a zigzag pattern, a traditional Arikara signal of success, and tied his pony's tail, a mark of triumph noted by ethnographer George Dorsey. Elder Scout Stab, his face lined with 60 years, greeted Red Star with pride, declaring his act a badge of honor in Arikara culture, where fewer than 100 scouts served the U.S. Army in 1876. At the camp, Custer, in his blue uniform, met Red Star with Tom Custer and Gerard. Red Star, crouching with a cup of coffee, confirmed the Sioux camp through signs, handing over Reynolds' note. The camp, with 600 soldiers, stirred as news spread, their murmurs like a gathering storm. Historian Nathaniel Philbrick notes that Custer's force was outnumbered 3-1, a fact the scouts' report made clear, heightening the camp's tension. Custer, through Gerard, turned to Bloody Knife, a scarred Arikara scout, and mocked Tom Custer's pale face, saying victory over the Sioux would make him a man. The taunt, recorded by historian Thomas Powers, revealed Custer's bravado, which clashed with the scouts' grounded caution. Red Star, exhausted from the 27-mile round trip, felt the weight of his duty, knowing the Sioux' strength could crush the cavalry. Custer led Red Star, Bloody Knife, Tom, Gerard, and others back to the ridge, a 12-mile ride under a rising sun. The bugler's horn, sounding a sharp call, spurred them onward, its notes echoing off hills. At the summit, Reynolds pointed to the Sioux camp, its 1,500 teepees hidden by a ridge but betrayed by smoke. Custer, squinting in his buckskin coat, dismissed it as White Buttes, a geological formation, until Reynolds' glasses revealed the truth, as per Robert Utley's account. Big Belly, also known as Half Yellowface, stood firm in his buffalo hide vest, his staff raised as he challenged Custer's plan to attack at night. He argued the Sioux, with 200 scouts, had seen the Army's 200 campfires, a fact supported by Crow oral histories. His plea for an immediate strike, backed by Combs' leading, swayed Custer after a tense debate. Historian D. Brown notes that Custer's decision to act swiftly against his initial plan reflected the scouts' critical influence, though it led to the disastrous Battle of Little Bighorn, where 268 soldiers died. Big Belly's warning, grounded in the Crows' deep knowledge of the land, marked a pivotal moment, yet Custer's reluctant agreement came too late to alter the tragic outcome. The Scouts, fewer than 100 Arikara and Crow among the 647-strong 7th Cavalry, carried the weight of their people's survival, their voices echoing centuries of resilience. Historian John Gray notes that their discovery of the Sioux' 8,000-strong camp revealed a force too vast for Custer's divided command, a truth the Scouts grasped but could not enforce. Red Star, with his beaded jacket and steady gaze, embodied the courage of native Scouts, whose wisdom was sidelined by a campaign driven by hubris. Their legacy, woven into Arikara and Crow oral traditions, stands as a testament to their foresight and sacrifice. The Battle of Little Bighorn, where 268 soldiers fell against 2,000 Sioux and Cheyenne warriors, became a symbol of native resistance and military miscalculation. The Scouts' role, often overshadowed, highlights the strength of communities like the Arikara, reduced to 1,000 by 1876, yet vital to the campaign. Their warnings, rooted in survival and observation, clashed with Custer's ambition, as historian Robert Utley argues, costing lives on both sides. How could the outcome have shifted if Custer had trusted the 12 Scouts' intimate knowledge of the Sioux' 1,500 teepees and 200 Scouts? And what does their silenced wisdom teach us about listening to those who know the land best?